did you know that 12% of people who dieted, they keep the weight off, and about 75% gain all the weight back, well, some of the weight back, and about 40% of the people gain more weight back. And so I see a lot of questions on Reddit talking about how they gain the weight back, and it's really stressful and it's tired, and they don't know if they want to continue to do this. And I understand that. But there's a couple of reasons why that might be happening, and there are some tools we can use to mitigate that. Now, why is that happening? Well, if you're having a hard time losing weight in the first place, you probably don't really know your maintenance calories correctly. You can look online for maintenance calories calculators, and they'll get close, but really you need to calculate your maintenance by hand for about a week, where you record all your proteins, fats, and carbs. I'm going to leave a food form in the description here. And so once you know your actual maintenance calories, then you can adjust any app. And then that will hopefully steer you in the right direction. Then you can go into your calorie deficit, maybe 300-400 calorie deficit. Now, if that's successful and you're eating good whole foods, you've upped your protein intake, your strength training, getting your 8K steps a day, you should be losing some weight. And then about 12 weeks later, you want to go into a maintenance phase. Now, that maintenance phase is very crucial, and this is why a lot of people gain the weight back, because once you diet, you're like, oh yes, I can go back to whatever I want. Your body liked the weight it was before, and so it's going to try to get back there. So maintenance is one of the best ways to mitigate that, and that's just putting those calories back in and still eating good whole foods, and getting all those 8K steps and strength training. Now, after those 8 weeks, if you're down to the weight you like and you want to build a little bit of muscle, you can go into a surplus if you want. But in general, people just should cycle through 12-week fat loss phases and 8-week maintenance phases. Now, I think like October and December are great times for that, and also March through June. That lets you kind of maintenance through January and February, and maintenance through the summer. Because, during the summer, there's holidays, barbecues, all those things. We need to compensate for those extra food days, and so being on maintenance is a lot easier than being in a calorie deficit, and the 4th of July coming up. So there's lots of tools that we can use to help keep the weight off. Fad diets, all those things. Weight Watchers, I saw a stat out there where people spend $2,700 a year on Weight Watchers. Can you imagine all the quality food you could buy with that $2,700 and just being in a calorie deficit, getting your 8K steps and strength training? Yeah, there's lots of options you can do with saving that money. Now, I'm not saying that those programs don't work, but you should be kind of like looking at it from your own perspective. You should be looking into how many proteins, how many carbs, how many fats you're eating, and not rely on somebody saying, here, just eat that, just eat this, just eat that. You really need to know what you're eating. The food industry is, man, they're just not our friends. I know I repeat myself on that a lot, but highly processed foods, high in fat, and processed carbs, and pretty much a lot of people are chronically under protein. Now, especially if you're strength training, you need to get your protein in. So try to be better at managing your food intake, your micros and your macros. It's really going to be beneficial in the long run. So when sometimes when I'm at the restaurant and I look at the menu, I just know that I cannot eat that, because it is just super high in fats. And when I'm on a fat loss phase, I'm really only eating about 55 to 60 grams of fat a day. And so after a year and a half of that, I kind of know, in general, how many fats that I can eat. And then and same thing with carbs, and the same thing with protein. So over time, you kind of get an idea of how much you need to eat, depending on whether you're on a fat loss phase, a maintenance phase, or a bulk phase. My weight loss journey, I just couldn't get down below a certain weight, and no matter how hard I tried. And I didn't really gain the weight back But I was just trying to out cardio diet, and it wasn't until I, started eating better foods and up my protein intake and lowered my fats was, I able to lose the weight. And I've been keeping it off because, every once in a while when it just starts creeping up there, I just go on a little mini harder fat loss phase. So if I'm already in a fat loss phase, and like we just had a birthday the other day, and I made some better foods. I used the Greek fat-free yogurt and some other tools, but I still, a couple of pounds here and there. But I kind of went into a harder deficit, about 600 calories for 2 days, and that kind of evened it out for me. So sometimes you got to just, dig down and dig deep and just trudge it out for a couple of days, especially when the holidays are around. We are on a break between shifts at the Y. So we're right to the little park next door, a little pond, little duckies. Definitely winter in Washington State. Now I'd like to hear back from you guys. Tell me about your weight loss journey. Were you able to keep the weight off, that 12%? Did you gain some of it back, or unfortunately, were you the part of that 40% that gained more weight than when you started? And what's your plan for the future? All right, well, this was a little short video talking about gaining some of that weight back, and it's okay. Don't freak out on it. Just kind of reach in, come back, go on a 12-week fat loss phase, maintenance that out, and then it'll be all good. All right, we'll see you a little bit lighter and a little bit healthier.